Michigan, I think, is the big talking point. So they were down early to LSU, and they fought back, and they ended up winning. And it became very clear in the final about 8 minutes that, like, okay, Michigan is way better than this LSU team. So how do you feel about Michigan? What's your take on them? And are they back? Like, are you still concerned? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's still LSU. Like when you get into it, it's still they beat LSU. And even without Isaiah Livers, you're saying to yourself, all right, like LSU's undisciplined. They generally don't defend. Do you trust them? No. Like I actually give them more credit. They fought with Michigan for most of the game and hung in there. But again, they're not the same team without Livers. Can they beat Florida State? Sure. We both know Florida State's not great. To me, it's going to be about if Florida State makes shots, they can. That should be a good game, like you said, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, Michigan to me is again, if they can somehow get Livers back, which I haven't gotten any information that's going to happen.
They've done a good job keeping that quiet. I'll give them credit on that. They've done a good job keeping what's going on.
I mean, maybe I got some time here these next few days. Maybe I'll try to dig in and find out what's going on there.
I honestly, I don't think I expect him to be back. I feel like
I don't either.
We would have heard some good news if he was going to end up being back. So I don't expect him to be back, and that's not something with I don't have inside information on that. Like I'm not texting with Juwan Howard right now, so I don't think he'll be back. For me though, watching them play, and I'm curious to see your take on this. I thought Brandon Johns played really, really, really important minutes for him.
Yeah.
And
they need that.
Yeah, like I mean, he's not going to be Livers, but he had a couple plays. Like there was one play where he squared somebody up on the perimeter. He drove by him and he dunked it in the middle of the lane. Now, a lot of that had to do with the fact that LSU seemed completely adverse to actually playing any kind of help side defense. But and then in the second half, when Michigan made their surge, when they went, I think they went from like down 8 to up 5, and it felt like the span of about 6 possessions where they completely overwhelmed LSU defensively. Like he made the 2 biggest defensive plays because he got put on an island against Javonte Smart, and then he got put on an island against Cam Thomas. And in both of those possessions, he stopped those guys. He was able to keep them from getting a shot off. They drove. He was able to go vertical at the rim and did not let them finish. And if he's able to do that defensively, then I do think that it changes the calculus a little bit on what Michigan is without him, because that's the value of Livers, is that you can have the guy with some size but still be able to be on the floor because he can defend people on the perimeter. I didn't know if Brandon Johns had that in his bag. If he does have that in his bag, it does change things a little bit. Now, he's still not the shooter that Livers is, but being able to have someone to match up defensively.
If Johnny Brown can make shots.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's made shots all year. Like that definitely helps. Yeah. And I do think that a matchup with Alabama and a matchup with a potential matchup with Alabama and this matchup with Florida State are both really good for Franz Wagner sliding over to the 4 and playing bigger, because you're not going to have to worry about him really getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? Like Florida State they have one big guy and they kind of play 4 perimeter players, right? Obviously, Alabama, like they have Herb Jones basically is like their 4-member point guard. So like the matchups, I don't think are going to result in Franz getting played off the floor like they might have in other situations. So I think that actually really helps them as well. So I'm back in on them. You know, I was really worried about them without Livers, but I think that Juwan might have found something. And I'm also, to be honest, I cannot wait to see what he's going to try to figure out to do how to play this Florida State team. That's going to be a really tough matchup.